Hello and welcome to episode 195 of the Bad Wolf podcast, and I'm Martin and I'm joined by my good friend and my cohort, Jared.
Hi.
Hi Jared, how are you, my good man?
Good.
I went to the MCM Expo today and here is an interview with Paul McGann.
Wow, this is like a press conference. What? Shall I do a scowling one like Jose Mourinho?
No.
Right, go on then. What happens now?
I have no idea. Go on.
Is there a universal thing like about the best thing about being the Doctor that all doctors agree on? And if so, what is it? Like, what would you say is the best thing about being the Doctor?
About playing the Doctor.
Yeah.
I think doing these shows, because these are the times when you meet the people that you make the thing for, and it's sociable and it's funny. I'm not saying they all are. Some of them are, some of them don't quite work out. But when they're as well run as this. And you can hear yourself talk, and we get a chance to meet the people. So that's the buzz. I suppose for us, it's as actors, it's because it's the feedback, and quite simply, you're in a room with all the people that love it like you love it. So what could possibly go wrong? That's the best bit. It is the best bit. If you're an actor and you're doing theatre, the feedback's instantaneous. You can talk to people in the bar, or and that's great because everyone loves talking about their work, and most of us do. Or like with Doctor Who, for example, or say you were in Star Wars or whatever. Like I say, you're meeting the people that you make it for, and that's the best thing. There's no other thing. That's the only thing.
In the recent episode of Doctor Who, Rosa, there was a lot of talking on some of the fan forums. There was 2PC. What was your...
I didn't see it. No, I saw with the Jodie Whittaker one. That was the third of the...
Second episode.
Second?
Yeah.
No, it was the third. I saw the first one where she was introduced, and I got the other two playing on catch-up. I've got to get home. I haven't been home yet. I don't get home till Sunday, so no, I'm waiting. So no spoilers. Don't tell me what happens in it.
That's the same. We still do. I'm the third one to watch.
Yeah. But anyway, so I can't answer your question because I haven't seen it. So. That was Arsene Wenger, wasn't it? I didn't see it. I couldn't possibly, not from where I was sitting. How could I possibly see it?
Should Doctor Who and sci-fi be political, or surely it's been that way from the beginning anyway?
You mean?
That was probably the biggest takeaway from that most recent episode. Not to spoil anything, it was just a very strong political commentary, and
was it?
It set a lot of people
in some people's eyes.
In some people's eyes, it was a little bit. Yeah.
It's a drama. It's a TV drama, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the stories. You're going backwards and forwards in time. Different eras, and you're making stories. Like all the best stories, and like the best sci-fi stories, they often many of them end up being morality tales. There's only 4 or 5 ways to tell a story, and Doctor Who works best when I can look in the first episode where Jodie came down. For me, there was something nice and old-fashioned and familiar about it. The Doctor's sorting out a bit of stuff on Earth, and there's a little bit of between good and bad, and a bit of so. By extension, I think you can hardly not involve yourself in politics. I think there's a difference between matters that have a political aspect and party political politics. Doctor Who should never be party political. There's no need. And why should it? Because that would date it quicker than anything. But what's universal about it is that, most of the stories, you look at it in any era, right from the beginning with William Hartnell, there's politics in everything. There's politics in all of the stories. Doctor Who had a family, so politics begins there. And if you're going out and trying to sort out crime and good and bad and, villains from goodies, you're going to get involved in politics. But I agree that there's no need for it to stray into party politics, but it never has it? Yeah. If it ends up getting involved in some of the stories, say in, Earth conflicts, war and stuff, then I'm sure as a writer you'd have to be careful, because you don't want to, you wouldn't want to take sides. Again, I've not seen the episode you mentioned, so I hope they handled it with tact.
Done well, yeah.
I've heard very good things about it. I've heard people sort of raving about it.
This series is on fire, actually.
I think she's
brilliant.
From the moment she arrived, I
Yeah.
thought she nailed it.
Yeah.
We've all, any of us that's played the Doctor has had to do that same thing. I'm talking about the first episode, where it's necessary. You spend that first, you arrive and go, I've just woken up. I don't know who I am. Where have I come? But, everyone has to do that same thing. And she did it beautifully, and she got through it, and she got through it quickly, and then was into her stride real quick. She's obviously a superb actor. Anyway.
We've met her. She's
Yeah, I'd love to meet her. I've never met her.
beautifully bonkers. Which I think...
But she's technically really deft as well. As another actor, like watching her, she's doing things immediately. You're going, wow, she's just great. She's completely. And look how Capaldi started, Matt Smith started, even Tennant himself. Was a very confident actor. If you went back to their first few eps, they're feeling their way in. It's just the way it is. You're stepping into something that other people have done before you, which is a little bit of pressure anyway. She didn't seem to have any of that. She just seemed to just dive in, with humour, and that was the best way.
What you had to do, because you had such a short period to do. You've had in many ways the toughest job.
I had a weird job, but I think.
Because you had to nail it, and you're still remembered as the Doctor, which means you did nail it, and everybody enjoyed it.
I suppose that when in '96 when we did that telly pilot, that was almost a double weird job because it was meant to get a series off the ground in the States.
Yeah.
So that was that huge departure. If it had been successful and a series would have gone, then. I'd have belonged to them for 6 years, and we'd have made a series in North America. So the Doctor would have moved Lock, Stock and Barrel to North America. It would have been, you can imagine. It didn't happen, which is why we got Matt Smith, David Tennant, and all those, since. But it was a strange pressure, given that 5 years before they'd got rid of Doctor Who in '89. So. But the fans still existed. It'd been on for 20 odd years. The job of this pilot was to find an American audience, which they were convinced existed. It seems mad to say that now, because that's where that's where it is. That's where Doctor Who is in North America. But in the mid '90s, they were sort of convinced, and presumably they didn't watch in sufficient numbers that it made the ratings that got it to a series. But so I suppose we had this dual objective of trying to appeal to this new audience, trying to sort of educate them in the thing, while not putting the noses out of joints of people back home, so to speak, who'd followed the thing for 20 odd years, and it never quite. It fell between the two.
Maybe
the two.
it's timing more than anything else. But with Paddington, they were a bit worried about launching Paddington because obviously in America nobody really knew Paddington.
Well, yeah, so it was a tricky thing.
Boom, look, what we've got now.
There you go. It could have gone differently, but there you go.
So with that entry into trying to break a new audience, plus being aware of this huge body of work that had come before it, what were the things that you felt were really important to get that character started? The character that.
Well, we got all. It's a good question, and all we had. We had a pilot to make, and pilots, even had it been successful, the pilot would probably still have been distinct from what followed because of it's almost formal. You're having to say this is this, and and I can almost remember conversations that the grown-ups were making, the producers saying, "Okay, look." We need 5 things, iconic things that we got to make sure that we include them. They were having to do it by numbers almost. It's a little bit like if you'd watched the first, the Jodie Whittaker's first thing. There's a pressure to introduce new faces. So the first ep of anything is what it is, and then you can sort of get into your stride after that. And we never got further than that. So, and of course, there were ideas that I discussed with them. We come back in October and we do this, that, and the other. Ways that over the years that we were going to play the character. But in this TV pilot, which they now call the movie, for reasons known. Yeah. We had to say we got to do this. You got to do. Of course, you had to have the regeneration that had to be there, and then. Then certain aspects of, say, the costume and the look, and then things that you say and things that you do, and how we finish it. So it was we had to play it straight. Plainly, it wasn't enough.
Yeah. So I imagine they gave you a lot of prompts, but did you really remember what were some of the things you specifically wanted to try and put into the character? back when it was all fresh and you weren't too sure?
Well, well, I'll tell you further back. When Phil Siegel, he was responsible for, it was mostly his energy. I think that's probably fair to say. Got those companies together, Universal, Fox, the BBC. He got me to do it. You know, he wore me down over about a year because I didn't want to do it. And when, you know, by the time he persuaded me to do it, it was mostly by dint of our having sat down and talked, and him selling the idea to me. And you know, for example, the year before, you know, that when there'd just been rumours that Doctor Who might return, you know, and we'd heard, oh, have you heard? Eric Idle's going to come back. He's going to be well, yeah, as the Doctor in America. Or Rowan Atkinson is going to, you know, but at the time it was stuff that there were names, and you thought, oh God, yeah, I could see that. Well, you sort of could, because it was within keeping, say, with what McCoy had been doing, and you know, and then Siegel had seen me on the telly with my brothers in this period thing, and I was dressed as a priest from the 1840s in this long dark frock coat with long hair, and he'd gone, who's that kid? Because I looked like the Doctor, his idea of a Doctor. So now he's trying to persuade me to do it. But anyway, and initially I was going, well, hang on, man, because those guys you're talking about, Eric Idle, and they're proper comedians, and they're this and that, and I don't do that. That's not what. He's going, I know. I know. And so no, I do this. He says, yeah, I know. So anyway, we had these conversations, and like most actors, I'm going, well, hey, you know, I think he's dark, and I think he's, you know, actors always say that. They like go for the darkness, and he's just nodding his head, going, "Yep, okay, we'll have dark," you know. Anyway, but he's letting me hang myself, and I ended up doing it. And so, in answer to your question, what probably would have followed, or what certainly would have followed, because I was more taken with the idea of the Doctor as a kind of, you know, he's not a fugitive, but he's left his home planet. He can't go back. Something has happened. There's been a schism, or there's been a, you know, and he's traveling, and he's sort of itinerant, and he's a voyager. You know, so, and he's melancholy, and there's of course he's also, you know, he's got a human side. This was the more. You know, that half-human thing was a bit more contentious. I didn't know that at the time. But not as contentious as when he kissed the girl. Anyway, so I found that out. But so anyway, but in the end, he you know, he said, no, we want a dramatic actor, which is what I rather arrogantly purported to be. But he said, no, that's what we want, you know. And as has been proved since, that's what he is. That's what you know. And Jodie Whittaker, like, you know, Matt Smith, first and foremost, is just a really solid, lovely actor. That's what you need.
Have you ever played the Withnail I drinking game?
Do I look like the kind of person who has a death wish? That would just be insane, wouldn't it?
It would be, yeah.
Have you ever played it? I've heard of people trying to do it.
A friend of mine is trying to convince me, so I just thought,
don't do it. Why would you want it? And anyway, you'd get 20 minutes in, if it's even 20 minutes. But that's before the lighter fluid.
Yeah,
comes.
We're talking about substituting that with vinegar.
That's what Richard Grant did. That was what was in the tin. But that means you've already got past 2 pints of cider and 2 large gins. You're going to be shit-faced then, right? And you're only 20 minutes in, aren't you? And you've still got an hour to go. Yeah. And you haven't even got to the red wine. What are you trying to kill yourself? Why would you want to do that? I think it's nuts. Crazy.
You returned for the web short. And there's
a web short.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
The web, the kind of bridged the gap between the War Doctor and his regeneration.
Yeah.
There's obviously a big thing at the moment with the radio play, like Big Finish. Is that something that you'd be interested in reprising the role as the Doctor for?
For what? For
Big Finish.
I've done 150 Big Finishes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been my whole career. I mean, the Eighth Doctor. I've shot on screen. I've been the Doctor for about an hour and a half in 20 odd years.
Okay.
I've done the pilot we were talking about and this 6-minute thing. That's it. But I've done 100 odd of the Big Finish is. That's where the Eighth Doctor lives. He lives
Archives, isn't it?
He lives on audio. So, you know, and again, to talk about your question before about, you know, particularly what me and Phil Siegel had talked about in terms of the character of the Doctor, the Eighth Doctor, the one that I was given to do. Most of that's now been, we put that into the audio plays. You know, all that sort of dark stuff and the melancholy voyage or whatever it is. You know, it's all in there. You know, so and we're going back next week. I'll go back and do some more. So, and that's just been continuous. I've been doing them since 2003.
Do you approach acting on audio differently to like TV or film?
Not really. No, it's storytelling. And when we make the Big Finishes, generally there's a studio we use in West London, and they've purpose-built these wooden isolation booths. So 7 or 8 of you can work in the room at the same time, and there's glass in them so you can see each other. But you can all be on different channels, so you can and you sort of see them like shouting their heads off, and but we can look each other in the eye. It's great, you know. It's a great way of working. It's the same. You approach it just the same, except you're freed from having to pull all the right faces. You know what I mean? If you were on the telly, that's all telly acting's about. You just got to pull the right face.
Especially next year.
Yeah.
If you were to have got the American show, if you could pick 2 or 3 actors from past, present, from Hollywood to be assistants, who would you want?
To be assistants?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Maybe I'll pick 2 women and a fella. Louise Brooks, Karen Black. You're looking at me now, blank. Oh, well, you can Google them when I've gone, right? Karen Black, Tanya. You'll thank me later. And a fella. How about? I was going to say Cary Grant, but he'd be too good for everybody. He'd be the best thing ever. Who played Little Caesar? What was him in the silent movies? Who was that?
Oh,
James Cagney.
yeah.
No, Little Caesar. What's his name? Who? Edward G. Robinson. There you go, Edward G. Robinson. He'd be the best, man. He'd be a fantastic. I tell you what, he'd give Bradley Walsh a run for his money. I tell you, Edward G. Robinson. Or maybe the other way around. Don't you think Bradley Walsh is fantastic?
He's amazing.
It's spot on.
He was a revelation. When I saw, I knew he could act. Me and Capaldi did a job with him years back. Because you know he came from football. He was a professional football player. He's in lots of stuff. But when I saw that first ep with Jodie, and particularly when they got to that funeral scene, I thought, wow, that is as good as anything. He's beautiful and he's subtle. He doesn't give it away, and it's just like I tell you what, he's the quiet revelation. Yeah. She can do all that stuff, but he's gonna anchor it, you know, somewhere just beautifully. I think. Yeah.
How was it recording the new audios with Sheridan Smith again?
That was a hoot.
Yeah. Obviously you can't.
No, but I can tell you we had a laugh. Yeah. Because that had been 6 or 7 years. Yeah. You know, since she'd been there. No, we had a real good time. Because you know we lost her to superstardom. Yeah. And it was nice of her to deign to come back and grace us with her royal. It was like a royal visit. You know, no, it was great. And you know what I liked as well? For the first half an hour, she was nervous. Because it meant that much. Yeah. It was really sweet. You know, she's Sheridan Smith. Yeah.
Is there any historical characters you like to meet in the audio book? Like you like to interact with?
Karen Black.
Interact is putting it mildly.
Sorry, just one more question, yes.
You've probably been asked 1 million questions over your career about everything.
Make it good then. It better be a good one.
Is there one question you wish someone had asked you but they never did? And if so, what's the question and what's the answer? What would you like your fans to know about you?
You're going to regret that. Make it good now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm regretting that now. Yeah, I've dug a hole for myself there, haven't I?
You got to come up with a good question.
I have, yeah. Say it again. What a question that I wish
someone had asked you but they never did, or something you'd like our fans or readers to know about you. Something you'd like to tell your viewers.
No, there isn't one. And you know why? Because I believe that actors should have a little bit of mystique. I'm genuine. you can't give it all away.
I've got
I mean
one that
that.
you won't have been asked.
Go on
It
then.
came from a 4-year-old boy once, and it was, do you see the invisible people? It was one of the kids I had to ask. Do you see the invisible people?
Yes. I'm a famous insomniac. Seriously, for years and years. And so I have, if I'm in a bad bout, I have, I suppose I don't know what the word is, but I would call them micro dreams, waking dreams.
Good.
Yeah. I could dream now when I'm awake. And it means that, and that's in a bad bout. And they might only last for 4 seconds. And in those 4 seconds, I've seen some invisible people. Let me tell you. It's really disconcerting. And it means, I'm not talk to any insomniac, but it means you've got to, of course you can't drive. It means you've got to leave the car at home. Because, why would you want to? But so sometimes I get them. Yeah, I've seen some weird things.
Actually, that would drive me crazy. I wake up early because I'm worrying about something, but to not sleep in the night, I couldn't.
Or to dream, like I say, to dream briefly while you're still awake.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's quite ordinary. I'll say, I'll think that we've had a conversation about something, or you've said, and it might be one of my kids or a friend, and they go, "What? I didn't say that." No. I said, no, it was 10 minutes ago, and they said, no. You dreamt it, and I literally have dreamt it. Yeah. So, I've seen him.